That is right. We are finally unmuted, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to DOOP By The River. It wouldn't be DOOP By The River without some sort of blunder, right, guys? Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't you dare forget, this is the Philly Sports Network Philadelphia Union podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button for notifications, as well as sharing this video and this channel with all of your friends and family. Don't not forget to subscribe as well to PSN Radio. Wherever you stream podcasts, don't forget to check it out there as well. Make sure to subscribe as well. Let me introduce my panel of co-hosts here on DOOP By The River. First up, Mr. Justin Fryeburg. Justin, what's going on today, man? How you feeling?
It's I always try to think, what's changed in the last week, and it's another good day in the neighborhood, as they say. It's
good day in my mind.
Not been too much, honestly. Other than work, it's mostly been apartment hunting.
Hey, I hear that, man. I hear that. Hey, this market has been going crazy with real estate.
Yeah,
I
think I've narrowed it down. I think I'm probably in Voorhees, which is good for my commuting. The commute to the to the dining room table and all that.
Nah, I hear you.
But everything's pretty good. Can't complain too much, to be honest.
Absolutely. Hey, it's another day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, as you said. AK Gaming, shouts to you. Thanks for coming back here today. Of course, we will get to all of that. Appreciate, guys, if you have any comments, questions, definitely throw it in there. We will get to it at some point in this podcast here. And of course, without further ado, my other co-host here, Mr. Tim Lovinguth. Tim, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I know I missed last week. Started a new job, so things were a little crazy for me. So, yeah, I'm excited to be back. I'm excited that there's legitimate union things to talk about. We will be talking about MLS transfer news, but we also get to talk a lot about the Philadelphia Union, which I'm very excited about. So many things. So, yeah, let's get this going.
Absolutely, 100%, man. It's good to have both of you guys back. Listen, it's not the same without. We had a lot of fun last week, but it's definitely not the same without Tim, for sure, man. Look, guys, this is a Philadelphia Union podcast. Obviously, I have the gritty on because it is Pittsburgh week for the Philadelphia Flyers. We all love sports. We all love Philly sports. But I really do pride this podcast in being a podcast that does touch upon, actual human life things, because there's more to this sports. We're all human beings and we all watch the sport. We all get away by watching these sports. So there was a topic today that was very interesting, and I think it connects a lot to what we do here. Obviously, if you haven't heard, NFL Network's Jane Slater had some interesting comments to say about a topic that we really don't talk about a lot in real life stuff, right? And that is unpaid internships. For some of the audience who are not, old enough, sometimes, in college to transition into the workforce, and especially the career you want to get into, you do internships. Sometimes they're paid, which is nice. It's not much, but it's nice to have some sort of money in your pocket. And sometimes they're unpaid. And that's really where this kind of all came about. She's someone that actually did unpaid internships, and she was talking about how those experiences really helped her in her career now. And I kind of wanted to bring this topic to talk about for 20, 30 minutes, because like I said, we're more than just a soccer podcast. We realize that there's actual human beings that we want here to watch this podcast, and we want to connect with you guys as well. So we'll start off with Tim here today, man. First off, what are your thoughts on, have you done an unpaid internship? And what is your thought on this topic here?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that should be talked about a little bit more. And it's something that I have personally gone through, for sure. When I was in college and sort of thinking about career paths and knowing my love for sports, I did want to kind of get in that and see if that was right for me. And I did actually 2 different internships throughout my time in college. One actually was with the Philadelphia Union, and it was nice. Interesting. I was a communication intern, which essentially meant that on game days, I was the one running around in the locker rooms and in the press box, writing down quotes from people and transcribing everything. Really good experience there. I also got to write some articles, which helped me craft some of the things that I'm doing with the Sports Network, which is great. But it was an unpaid internship, and it was at I would say, a rough time with the Philadelphia Union. It was back in 2016. So the end of the, Ernie Stewart era. There was, a lot of staff turnover, at least when I was there. So I didn't even get like a real supervisor or a real, even a key into the building. I had to have someone come and let me in every day. So it was a little humiliating, that side of things. But
lots has changed with the union, guys.
Yeah, it was still a great experience though. And I love the few months that I got to be, inside club headquarters, learning how to do some of the things that people do, in the sports world. Another one that I did, which isn't necessarily sports related, it was more of like a business type of internship, was I actually worked with as an unpaid intern for Future 500 soccer camps. So it was still sports related, but it was an ID camp for kids coming out of high school that wanted to get looked at by college coaches. So it was this huge camp. It was run on my college's campus. So over the summer, I was kind of just able to run that, be another communication intern, write some press releases for stuff, write some radio things, some things that can be said on the radio, create a bunch of schedules. And that was really cool because that was really, you get to see the ins and outs of how a business runs and how a thing like that runs with all of these different moving parts. So that was really cool. And then even at the end of that one, even though it was unpaid, the people there were so charitable that they actually did write me a check at the end of it.
Nice.
Which was great. They didn't have to do that, but they really appreciated what I had brought to them. So that was cool. But on, my opinion of unpaid internships, I'm kind of in the middle. On one hand, I see that, it is pretty much exploiting people for their experience. A lot of times it's for college credit. My union one was for college credit. So that, that was what I was getting paid in. And I was, in a big organization. So it was like a great resume booster, and it worked for whatever class it had to cover, all that fun stuff. But then on the other hand, you get those experiences if you are in a good spot, you can make connections. It's really valuable. So, I can see both sides of that coin. I think it's pretty shitty that it's, unpaid and it's pretty much exploitation. But at the same time, if you can make the most of your experience and you want to go into that line of business, I think it's really valuable. So
absolutely. No, you bring up a lot of great points, and that's why I wanted to bring up this topic, because look, there's pro and cons to a lot of things, especially when it comes to this. It definitely I want to put some people on their toes here today. So it definitely was a great insight there, and I appreciate that, Tim. Justin, how about for you, man? Have you done an internship, and what's your stance on the topic here?
Yeah, I went to school for accounting, and they advise, when you're an accounting major, or at least a business major, that you should have at least one internship. For accounting majors, there's not really a lot of paid ones. I was lucky to get an internship with the Office of the Budget, the government agency, the comptroller's office up in Harrisburg. My university was about half an hour away from the capital. And I mean, I can say at least the difference between mine and Tim's, I at least had an ID badge. I was at least given the benefit of an ID badge and a parking space. So I had no problem getting into the building. Now, whether my boss actually knew I was there, I mean, when he walked out of his office, he knew I was there. But yeah, it was an unpaid internship. I got paid in college credit. It was about 2.5, 3 months. I did learn a little bit. I mean, really, I was saddled with 2 big projects, and it wasn't necessarily anything generally related to what I do now, but it was, some business experience. I understand the need for interns. There isn't a genuine need for them, but it's a purely at this moment an exploitative, job, not getting paid, and I really think even if you're not paying them much, there's no reason why there should be unpaid internships. Honestly, after having done what I did, you're giving the grunt work that nobody wants to these college kids just begging for credit, begging for any experience. You're lucky if you get the benefit of, the networking, because you're assuming that anyone's actually going to be paying attention to you. Like, and that was the thing. Like, I was, and also if you're not really a sociable person, it might not, you might just sit in your corner cubicle and literally just be unnoticed. I mean, I was lucky that I might not be the most social person, but I did realize that if I wanted to make some kind of connections, I would, I'd go around the office talking to people, asking if they needed help, kind of chatting people up. And, I got a great letter of recommendation from my internship boss, and that really helped parlay into my first job out of college.
Yeah.
So yeah, I fully believe that you should get internship experience, to help you in your professional career. However, I am against it being unpaid simply because it's just an exploitative practice. And I really think there's absolutely no reason you can't even pay. You can pay the minimum wage.
Right.
Like, and a lot of these businesses, they can afford to pay you at the very least minimum wage. And yeah, people say, "Oh, you're getting paid in college credit." Like, no, like you have to pay for those college credits. So really, you're getting screwed over doubly, because not only you're not getting paid any kind of a salary, you're then having to pay for those credits, which is already on top of your exorbitant cost of education. Which, working in higher education, I'll say, cost is way exceeds, because certain people don't in higher positions make a ton of money. But that's how it is. Higher education is that I go into a whole rant about higher education and how that's an exploitative industry and very predatory, and student loans. Yeah. Trust me, I see it all. But to get back to the other exploitative practice, I am for internships, but I fully believe they should be paid.
Yeah. I mean, look, I hear you guys, and it's so tough to, college as it is, you're broke. Like, I understand. Like, I'm personally, I'll get to my stance on this, but as a college kid, it is tough to survive on your own and then try to, live out your dream. Everyone keeps talking about this American dream. We always want to follow our dreams, but then sometimes to get into our dreams, you got to do stuff that you have to sacrifice stuff, essentially. So, I mean, for me personally, I didn't finish college. I was essentially a college dropout, right? I kind of changed my life around, and I realized that, I want to be happy in life. And really what makes me happy is sports. And that's why I'm getting into this industry. For me, I feel as if and this is just me personally, this is my opinion. I feel kids who go to college and go through the, whole broadcasting program, whatnot, they have it a little easier. And that's completely okay. I took the harder route, and I did that for a purpose. I always grew up where a hard work ethic, it was it was the standard at home. That that's what I was taught at home. And so when I decided to go full in on this industry, I knew that there was going to be tough times. So I literally, you guys see me. I mean, if you guys follow me, you guys know how much I put into it. But for the fact of the matter is, for me to make this dream a reality, I had to take jobs that I didn't want to do. Working in the restaurant industry, it's good money, but it's definitely not a future. And those are some of the things I had to do to kind of, make this dream a reality to support myself. Because at the end of the day, you need money. But when it comes to unpaid internships, I think it is wrong. Especially like you guys said, I didn't pay to go to college. I'm trying to make my way in. So when you guys pay for college and you have to go work essentially for free, I don't understand the lot. You're essentially paying to work, right? And that logic just doesn't make sense to me. I do understand. That's why I say it's easier for guys at college to get into the industry than it is for someone who, like, let's say myself, right? Because when you do those internships, you get those valuable lessons. You get to network with some of the people that are in your industry. Those are huge benefits to internships. So for me personally, just like you guys said, minimum wage, it doesn't take that much. So it's definitely a topic that we could debate on for days and days and days. But like, again, this is a real human topic, and I know a lot of Union fans out there. They go through the same things. There's more than one Union fan who went through an unpaid internship, and they have that opinion as well. So, as always, guys, I do appreciate your input into this, and it is great to hear your guys' insight and what you guys had to kind of do. And like I said, like, you guys went through college. I don't know what that is like, but I can only understand. Or I can only try to understand at least. So definitely great stuff. I appreciate it, guys. Let's go on. We gotta hit more topics like this. It's great to get the brain working a little bit, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk some Union, right?
Let's do it.
Ready? Justin, you ready?
Of course.
Justin is rocking a new nickname tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He is Fried Baldragon, and if you guys know me, you know what the heck that name means to me. So awesome stuff. So today I kind of want to, when it comes to the Union, I want to touch upon the first big news that has a lot to do with Philadelphia sports in general. That is the fact that the city of Philadelphia has allowed fans in stands. Obviously, the Phillies will have opening day with about 8,000 people in there, which is great. The Flyers and Sixers. I think the Sixers' next home game, they're gonna have fans.
Sunday, I believe. Yeah.
That's awesome. These are definitely going to cost a pretty penny, but regardless. So for us, we kind of are in an interesting spot because we had fans in the stands last year. It's a little less than what we allowed here, but so is it my understanding? It's capacity.
Yeah, it's 20% of capacity, including the participants, any traveling staff, and game day workers. So you're talking 20% of the Union Stadium is going to be around like at least maybe 4,000 to 4,500.
I got you. I got the exact number. I was doing it up earlier. It's 3,700 people. Is 20.
Okay, so 3,700 people. So you're talking anywhere in the realm of 3,000 to 3,500 fans. So you're probably talking at least like just over 1,000 fans more than you had last year or last season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that would be huge. I mean, to be honest, I know I went to a fair share of the games last year, and just having that limited capacity to be even more limited than what they're going to allow this year, it helped the Union immensely in some of those games where in past years you might see them draw or lose. That little bit of a crowd pushed them to a win. So now if you get more and more of a crowd in with this type of team, I think it's the Union are just going to feed off of it.
No, absolutely. And it the reason I was a bit hesitant last year, I know based on the experiences, Tim, that you and Johnny had, I know they did a very good job of coordinating all of it. Yeah. The reason I was a little more hesitant was obviously given my pre-existing condition and my family's, health, concerns. So I was a bit hesitant, but now that my house is fully vaccinated, I've talked to my dad. As soon as the schedule was released of when the CCL game was, my dad looks at me. We work at the dining room table here. He looks at me and goes, "We're getting tickets, right?" Like without hesitation. Yeah. And I went, "Of course we are." Now that I know that I've done the very basic, to take care of myself,
right?
And I wear masks everywhere I go. I make sure I'm 6 feet apart from anyone who isn't in my household. Like I take those necessary precautions, and knowing what the Union did last year, I feel comfortable now going to the stadium in April, right. And I have a good feeling about it. And it's going to be interesting to see how we do it with a slight increase in fans. But I think, while the sport has, it hasn't suffered, but while it's different without fans, the players are going to be excited to have
Right.
at least a decent amount of fans, because they even said it last year. Even those little bit of fans really helped get them back, into
Right.
the drive to push for the Shield, because you
Mhm.
want when you've seen it. It was in 2019 when they were playing at the level that they were. I mean, you remember that stadium, Tim. We were in the River End, and that stadium
Yeah.
was full on rocking. The entire stadium was on the same chant. Everyone was jumping up and down. That stadium, it probably registered a minor earthquake, from the area, just on how loud and how much volume was going. But like that's what fans do. Fans can turn a game, and
Right.
that's the whole point of it. And that's why, yeah, we're not going to have full fans till next season. I'm 100%
Right.
confident on that. But even like say in like September, October, I've talked with some friends in away markets. Like I'd love towards the end of the year to go to an away game,
Yeah.
because heck, I have travel miles. I have a travel credit. I was supposed to go to Colorado last Memorial Day for the Union Rapids game. Like I have money that I've used. Like, and now that I know that I've done what I can do, it's like, okay, now that stuff's going to start opening up, it'll be interesting. Now, obviously, it's going to be a market by market case. And
Yeah.
as AK Gaming asks us, is Chicago having fans?
Yeah.
It's up to the state. It's up to the states, and even there,
I just looked it up. Nothing popped up. So
yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's gonna be a market by market area, because it's always okay. The federal government has said we'll allow the states to do however they want, and then within certain states, it's like, okay, the state will issue an edict, and then it's like, oh, what does the city do? Like prime example, Pennsylvania. They said 20% of all outdoor venues. And the
Right.
city of Philadelphia said,
Right.
well, until they can meet that criteria, like for the Sixers games, like it's going to be even reduced than that, because obviously it's an indoor setting. So it's going to we can't say, oh well, everyone's going to be doing this because of this. It's like, you could look at California. They have the new variant strain so they're not 100% sure what their capacities are going to be. Like there's a lot of variables that we're still kind of trying to figure out, and it really won't be. I mean, now we have 2 vaccines. Now Johnson & Johnson. Now we have a third one. There'll be 20 million doses of that by the end of the month.
Yeah.
So as the vaccines are more available and as more people get vaccinated by the summer, I could see that percentage going up. Not to half, but at least I would say maybe close to 40%. Like I think that's a now obviously we're assuming that people will continue to get vaccinated, and then people will still social distance and wear masks. It's all contingent on that, obviously. But that's the thing is, if people are, because we can see we are so close. We are so close. Dr. Fauci was right. All we had to do was get through the winter. And you would start to see stuff to come back. And look, we are so close to the end of the winter, and just as we predicted, the vaccines are rolling out, people are getting vaccinated, and we are on the process. Now, by any means, we're not anywhere close to the end line. Let's not Deshaun Jackson this and drop the ball before we reach the end zone. We still got a little ways to go. But knowing how close we are, and this increase in the number of fans is a big step to say, hey, we're trying to return to normal. We still want the safety for everyone. And obviously, yeah, there are strict restrictions even within the 20%. You still have to account for game day workers and everyone inside the stadium. You still have to have 6 feet in between groups. Like there are still protections within that increase. So they're not totally going and saying, hey, you know what, 20%, just sit wherever. Let's throw caution to the wind. It's okay. There's 20%, but you gotta abide by these restrictions.
Right.
So we're taking, I'd say one step forward, and then kind of looking around and going, okay, is it safe, and letting it, and then taking we're inching our way up. But honestly, I'm super excited. Like,
yeah.
It's a big step forward. And like I said, as soon as the announcement comes out about when we can buy season ticket holders can buy tickets for the game against Saprissa, I am waiting by my computer and clicking the link as soon as that happens.
I think we all are, man. I think we all are. AK Gaming. What I will tell you is, I'm sure you're from the Chicago. You're a Chicago sports fan. More than likely, if the other if the Cubbies, the White Sox, and the Bears, well, obviously Bears aren't going to play now, but if they are going to have fans in the stands, and the Bulls and the Blackhawks as well, then more than likely the Fire will have fans in Soldier Field as well. So, with that being said, guys, now. We can start looking ahead because the Union also dropped the preseason schedule that is coming up as well. So we have, obviously right now the Union are still in the area practicing. Tim, do you know where that is, those indoor fields that they're playing in?
So they used to practice up at, the YSC Academy for some stints of preseason, and they used to also go down to Penn. They used to use the big bubble that's down on Penn's campus. I'm not sure where they are right now. It's probably one of those two spots, though. That's where they usually do indoor practices.
Where in the world are the Philadelphia Union?
Yeah, they're either up at their academy or they're down in the city.
Very nice. So they'll be around here until the 11th. On the 12th, they will be joining the Phillies in Clearwater, Florida. I love that they do their preseason spring training, whatever you want to call it, in Clearwater. And then on the 15th, we have our first scrimmage against Orlando City at Joe DiMaggio Field. And then 5 days later, for our Chicago Fire fans listening, we will be scrimmaging on March 20th. The team will return back to the area on March 24th. On the 31st, we have a scrimmage that has with an opponent that has not been named yet. Do we have?
It's a closed door scrimmage.
Do we have any update on the team, or is it not going to be announced?
No, probably, if it's announced, it's going to be announced relatively close to that date.
Yeah,
and that might be one of the last days. I think you might have one other. That might be the last scrimmage before because the first day of the CCL match is April 7th. So
it says here that they're only doing 3 scrimmages. Now my question is, why wouldn't these 4 teams that are competing in this competition, why wouldn't they scrimmage each other to get ready for this?
I guess if you're looking at it, I mean, it for sure preseason, it doesn't particularly matter who you're scrimmaging. Like, everyone's going to be getting up to the same speed, so there's really no added benefit for. I mean, the CCL teams only get a week, extra of practice because they're reporting now, and the other teams don't report till next week. But I don't see a ton of added benefit because you're both in preseason form, so there's no. I understand, it'd be good to play against a team that's also competing, but it's like, what are you going to do that you wouldn't get from scrimmaging another MLS team? I understand where you're coming from on that, Johnny, but I can't particularly think of a reason why there'd be any added benefit,
right?
Just getting the game,
honestly,
the game speed.
Yeah, honestly, I think for me, the reason is for that. It probably has a lot to do with location of preseason as well. At least for the first 2 games, the Union always play, a Florida team, and it seems like Chicago every year in the preseason down in Clearwater. So that makes sense to me. Now the scrimmage at home, in Subaru Park, the week before a CCL match, that screams like they're playing a college team or the U2 or
I was gonna say,
something like that. Yeah, I feel like it definitely won't be the level of a Saprissa. We know that, but I don't see any MLS team coming to Philly to play a preseason match.
I mean, the closest one is going to be Columbus or Atlanta.
That would be great.
Coming up because every MLS team has to is traveling away in the first leg anyway, so it makes no sense for them to come up here. Fly back down.
I know Michael Thomas probably wants the Union to play the Lone Star.
Hey, that would be cool.
Honestly, aren't Lone Star USL now?
I think they are.
Are they really? That's awesome.
I think they're League 1 or League 2. Yeah, League 1 or League 2.
I think the Lone Star women's coach tweeted at me once, and I definitely wanted to go. I definitely have to check it out. Obviously, you know, we just had the pandemic, but
Yeah,
sorry.
that's all good.
That's awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff. So yeah, so that's, I mean, pretty much, you know, like it's coming, guys. It's really coming fast and furious for all of us here. So you know, we're all getting ready for the whole start of the Union season, CCL and the MLS. You know, but for a lot of Union fans, guys, the question is like, is this the complete team? Is this the team we're going to run with in 2021? Well, Ernst on Friday had it was talking a little bit to the press, and he talked about he's still looking to bring 1 to 2 players here. Now, obviously, Union fans, you know, they all are going to look at 2 positions. Obviously, the replacement in depth for Messi, Brendan Aronson, and obviously me included. I would like to see another striker in here to push Corey, Sergio, and Casper. But Tim, man, I'll throw this one to you, man. What's Ernst doing here? What's going on?
I mean,
with
honestly,
the Tanners.
Or with Ernst Tanners.
The Tanners.
The Tanners. I think he sees what he has, and he knows it's a competitive team for MLS. And I know that's going to piss off a lot of Union fans. We're talking about a competitive team and not bringing in these star players, but I mean, that's what he sees. And, you know, in his mind, that's, you know, he wants to add these other 2 players, but he also said it could either be in this window or the summer window. So we're going to have to see what that type of business looks like. Obviously, they were able to, you know, sign Stuart Finlay. They brought him in, and he takes up an international slot. And I was looking at the Union's roster. It looks like Jack Elliott now doesn't take up a slot unless he already had his green card, and I'm just not aware.
Yeah, that was my. I think we talked about it in our group chat. I said,
yeah,
with the Finlay signing, I said, okay, there's got to be another move because unless there's no international spots.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if I'm just late to this party, but I did see that Jack Elliott was not labeled as an international player. So.
Well, that's good, right?
I know they were working on a few things, and I know the process was getting slowed because of COVID. Bureaucracy itself is slow already.
Right.
But I know they were working on a few things, so that might have been it. When is transfer deadline? So I know we talked about this. I know because of the season starting a week later, I know they extended this window. I think it's a weird period. Like I think it goes to
till May.
And then it opens back up. It opens back up. The primary again opens back up when the European session does back in July. So there's a weird month period where you kind of gotta have it. They kind of pushed it all over the place, but yeah. So the MLS teams, it's never about where you're getting sold from; it's where you're going to. So as long as MLS window is open, these teams can sign whoever they want.
Yeah. So I have 2 things on that. So first, we did talk about it a couple of weeks ago with that hoax rumor for Matić Orović. Is there a possibility though that he could go because that international spot is interesting?
I don't know. I still think he's gonna I think given the young players coming in, I really do think they're going to try to give him he's gonna have a chance. He's gonna have a full off season really to come in and say, here, earn your spot. Come and show us why we signed you. He's still a young player.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not a homegrown, but he's a young player that we were hoping to get good things out of. And
he was supposed to be what Jose was this year.
We were lucky that El Brujo was as good as he was. I mean, that was coming out of the Venezuelan league. People were like, is that league any good? It was. And that's an honest, there's a lot of leagues in South America that you go, is that league any good? Outside of Argentina, Brazil, are there really any other particularly standout leagues? And the answer is most likely no. And that's maybe Colombia is third on that list, but other than that, there's a lot of this, a lot of the smaller countries in South America, the leagues are not even up to the par of an MLS. They might be physical. They might be, and again, I think Alberto learned that because I think the Venezuelan league might have been way more physical because don't get me wrong, MLS is very physical, but a lot of the fouls, he started to rack up some yellows, and I think Jim probably sat him down and went, Jose, like, you gotta, you're at an 11. I need you at about like a 7. Like, I still need that energy, but like, calmate. Like, just relax. So, like, I think you weren't expecting, Martinez to really elevate to the level he did.
Right.
And it was very clear of that. So the thing is, I think you're going to, because you're not going to be signing any players in the, in the defensive midfield. You're gonna have El Brujo as your 6. You're gonna have probably Jamiro on one wing, Ali on the other, and then you're gonna have a rotating cast, probably starting, I'm assuming, with Fontana up there. And the real question is, okay, on the shutter, like, you're gonna want to give Jamiro, and especially you're gonna want to give Ali a break. Like, the dude is in his early 30s. He's a workhorse. He can play the minutes, but it's clear that, like, towards the end of last season, you started to see
it's hard to keep up, man.
Catching up with him. And like, it is what it is. Like, and I was saying it a lot last year. You gotta, how many times did I say you gotta give Ali a break? Yeah. Like, it's clear he is the heart and soul of that midfield, 100%. And I love him. I love having him. He will. I absolutely firmly believe he will be the next person on the Union Wall of in the Ring of Honor when he retires. He has meant that much to this city. But give the dude a rest, and that's why you have these young players. That's why you have the Cole Turners, the Brandon Craigs, even the Jack DeVries and the Matej Orovets. Like, you have all these players who can play at a very positions in the midfield. There's going to be a lot of rotation, 100%. Given the amount of competitions, given the amount of games, there's going to be a lot of rotation. I think Jim knows, and that's why Ernst is saying we want maybe 1 or 2 more signings, but you're not. He's saying it, like, he's not gonna rush the signing. Yeah. So I have no problem with the roster as is. Now we might have Colin as a depth signing. Tim, I know Courtney is going to be very excited that if her French husband is still staying with the team.
I mean, let's just say she sent a tweet out to him, like literally added him and was like, "Are you coming back?" And he liked the tweet. So I mean, you heard it here first.
Courtney broke it.
Yeah, Courtney broke.
Source Courtney.
But no, it like you're, and then maybe I haven't heard whether Joe Bendick is coming back, but I think signing a third goalie.
He's really on the roster, technically. On the Union's website, he's still on the roster. Bendick is.
So he might have signed a contract, and we might not even.
You just haven't heard it.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, like,
really
I think the thing with that is like, I think the reason why, like, you want, again, I don't love having Bendick, and I know Freed's going to be the backup, but you know what? Manny is on the initial Olympic roster, so if the Olympics are happening,
he's down there right now.
He's going to make that roster.
Right.
So you might lose him for at least a month or so in the summer.
Yep.
Like, I think you're going to run into that issue, but I think with the given roster, with the players they have, I'm okay with waiting until signing the right person. And we'll see how that works. Like, right. I think Ernst wants to look at it and go, okay, he wants to, Ernst, we know Ernst is not going to pull the trigger on the first guy that he sees. Yeah. He's a very patient man. And when he sets his eyes on something, he signs it, and it usually turns out to be pretty good. Yeah. So I will give the man, for Union fans who are like, we need to replace Brendan, we need to replace Mario, blah, blah. It's like, trust the man who has brought in some damn good talent here. Give him. I mean, like I said, the Stuart Finlay signing kind of came out of nowhere, but it's also like, we were talking about CBA negotiations. We were talking about whether we wouldn't even have a normal season. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's trying to figure everything out, and we're kind of starting to figure it out. But it's like it doesn't feel like there'll be a signing. But again, we didn't think there was going to be a center back signing, so we don't know. Like, it's very up in the air. But I'm okay with this roster at season start. I don't think this will be the full roster given this season end. But again, we have another window. We have another window in the season, so I'm not really that worried.
One thing I will say about the player evaluation, both on the roster and with signings that the Union are looking for. I keep bringing this up, but Jim talked about how the Union as a club have a philosophy of the way they value players called the Philadelphia Union value. They use it as a metric to rate their players. And if a player isn't up to the standard of what they want a Philadelphia Union player to be, which is essentially, give it all for the badge, be, that gritty player that can do whatever is asked type of thing.
No pun intended.
Yeah. then they won't sign that player. Or they won't extend that player. I think we've seen that with some of the older homegrowns that, were kind of traded away in league, things like that. They didn't kind of rack up there. So I will say that if Ernst is looking at players right now and evaluating the current squad and evaluating players out there that he wants to sign, whether it be in this window or the next, you're right, Justin. He's going to wait for that perfect opportunity, the perfect player, and the best deal, wrap it all together, and it'll be a good signing.
Right, man. Listen, guys. First off, guys, my guys are right here. Like, let's relax on that. Like, I keep seeing it every day on Twitter. I don't go much on Twitter these days.
Oh my god, dude, you're better off for it.
I go on there for like 2 minutes. And I see one fan freaking out. It's like, it doesn't change.
No,
I love y'all.
You, and I love Mike, but Mike Thomas. I love Mike, but
he's the
every
best.
time I see someone freaking out, it's someone replying to a tweet that Mike has sent, and then I text Mike and go, "You know what you started," and he knows it. He does this mostly on purpose, but like he does bring up good points, but he's always like, "Yeah, I know what I said," but.
It's funny because you guys see this Mike Thomas online, but like I've gotten to know Mike Thomas a little personally, and for me, like I see Mike Thomas, and I want that situation. Like you guys don't see him as a dad. He's got these two, beautiful little girls, and it's so funny, like interacting with him, and I mean, like that's what I want when I become a dad one day. But
oh my god, I've seen his like we've been on like chat, like we've done like watch alongs like the U.S. women's game, and he's still like we're talking soccer, and his adorable little girls are running all around, and he's like, and he finally, I think he got them to bed at the beginning second half, and he goes, "All right, the house is quiet for like 5 minutes," and like I've grabbed the first time I ever met Mike outside of Twitter was at the Gold Cup quarterfinals. And he walked up to me, he goes, "Justin," and I'm like,
"Yeah, you always love that."
Me? And I'm like, he goes, "It's Mike." And I was like, "Oh, hey, Mike." Like we were talking, and my buddy goes, "How'd you know that guy?" I said, "Oh, from Union Twitter." He goes, "Who the hell do you know in the?" It was like, yeah. Mike's a genuinely good guy, and that's it. But it's like, Union Twitter tends to freak out, but you talk about a little gritty, Johnny. I'm just saying, if Jim grew out a little scraggly beard, he might be our gritty. You get a little facial hair, and we might be talking our own gritty.
That's so true. So true. No, but look, when it comes, I do think I personally would feel a little more comfortable if we did have, Brennan Aaronson's depth replacement. And that's the signing that doesn't need, that could be a 300. You can find someone come in here, compete for $300,000. Like, I don't think it needs to be expensive, but it to the point that we talked about a couple weeks ago when Ernst was on MLS Italia, like the whole salary thing is a big deal. And being able to bring in someone who, like you saw what Brujo did last year. That guy came in here with the chip on his shoulder. And that's what you want the culture to be here in Philadelphia. You want them to have that blue collar Philadelphia mentality. We always talk about Philly athletes with the other sports, and we freaking got it here down in Chester. I'd rather bring in someone here who it comes in here, we buy it for $300,000, has that chip chip on his shoulder, wants to learn, wants to grow, wants to improve, and we have the right pieces to get people into those positions that they want to be in. So, guys, if the guy is worth $300,000, comes from Bolivia, and you never heard of his name, it's hard when you look on Transfer Market. There's no picture there. That's who you want. Okay, you don't want Messi. You want that guy. I mean, that's a little stretch, guys, but you know what I'm saying, guys.
No, absolutely. I mean, no one knew who the hell El Brujo was, and then he has the LAFC game where he has to go through like 3 jerseys, and he has a bloody lip, but he fights through it. Like by then, he was already endearing himself,
right?
To the fans with that play, and it's like, okay, like this guy means business. He's going to go about his job exactly how Philadelphia wants.
Yeah.
And now do I think it's going to be a cheaper signing? Now cheaper in the MLS is kind of relative. I think the way the Union do it, and I think the way Ernst was saying, I think it's going to be No. I've seen Collier play. I don't want he's a tall winger, striker, forward, D mid. They put him all over the place. No, don't want him.
Who's the guy that got the red card here when they were in Chester? That was a knuckle. I was like, you're a dummy. I'm not gonna say the word, but you're a dummy.
But, no, like for the Union, a signing, I think a replacement for Aronson could be in the. I'm just gonna say it's not gonna probably be under 500, but it's definitely gonna be under $1 million. I mean, you could probably say it in the 500 to 750, give or take. And we'll see. Like I said, we're confident. Everyone, calm down. It's it was Francisco Calvo. That's right. He is a dummy.
Calvo, yeah, that sounds
familiar for a lot of teams. But listen, it is what it is with the Union. Like at this point, like I said, I'm not worried. It's Ernst knows what he's doing, and he's also working with a lot of restraints, given a global pandemic, given the international spots, given how long the visa like there's a lot of stuff that you're gonna have to wonder. So, and that's why I think a summer signing is more feasible.
Yeah.
Because okay, normally you want to play at the beginning of the season to kind of allow them to kind of gel with the team and get used to things. But a summer signing, I mean, not everyone's going to be an Andrew Wooten and just not
there it is.
At all. Like it's a like Ernst has more hits than misses.
Yeah,
like it's basically almost all hits.
Yes,
and that's what I want. Like that's what because of that I know to trust the man.
Right.
So I'm not exactly worried. What I love is signing, but I mean that's how it always is. Like you always want a signing. It's this offseason was always going to be weird. And again, the CBA negotiation took off a lot of the steam that would have been the regular signing. So I think this would be this is a weirder offseason than most.
Right, man. No, you're 100% right there, man. Hey, man, you know what I want to spend money on? I want that striker, but hey, I'm not. I'll be content with what we have here upcoming this season. One other news that kind of came out today, I just wanted to touch upon lightly here, just brush upon it. We can say, the Union did make some technical staff changes. The one that really stood out was Frank Light is joining this team. I think that's how you say it. He's coming from the Kazakhstan Premier League, but he replaced why am I missing his name? Olaf, right?
Olka Nikolov.
Nikolov. I was close.
You combine them and compress them.
Ola Nikolov, the legend and
so they were what assistants to Jim's. So for those who don't obviously know the MLS coaching staff structure, so what do you typically have? Obviously, our manager Jim Curtin, right? And then does he have usually 3 assistants like on game day and whatnot?
You normally have you have a guy that works with say the forward and maybe the midfield. You have a guy who works with the defense, a guy who works with the goalkeeping. So you have at least 3 assistant coaches, and then you have so I'd say it's usually anywhere from 4 to 5 assistant coaches, give or take.
Yeah.
And then you have all the performance staff. But I mean, if I remember, Ola was the goalkeeping coach at one point.
Yeah.
I know that's changed in the past few years, and the guy they brought on last year actually has been one of the biggest things why Andre was back to the form that he was. But like technical staff kind of coming and going is.
It's sort of what we want to see from the union right now. Is if the assistants are doing well and progressing and getting other job opportunities through that, it shows you what type of organization the union have right now. If you have a team that keeps all of its assistant coaches season on season on season, I mean, like that's not a progression that the union want. Like keep saying the union, are transferring their players, but they also want their coaches to move on to bigger and better things too. They want that even for other staff, So that's like the culture that this club is now creating.
Right. I mean, that's in every sport.
Unless you're Cincinnati and you have Johan DeMay as your like interim head coach, like
oh my god, that's rough, dude.
Every time they fire someone, he's just like, "Oh, hey Johan, can you come here and fill in while we hire another guy?"
All right, let's move on to guys. You know what time it is? It is everyone's favorite segment here, Doop Across the Pond. The segment where we follow union alums overseas in Europe. Tim, what do we got today for Doop Across the Pond?
I mean, it's been an interesting last week. I know for Brendan Aronson, all he seems to do is start for Red Bull Salzburg. I will admit,
start.
I will admit, since I've started my new job, I haven't been able to watch as closely on all those starts because there are a lot of midweek games and things like that. But
right, the European schedule.
He's getting those games, and obviously he's shown his ability to play in that more advanced sort of winger number 10 role that they play because they play a 4-3-2. So he gets in those wide positions. Gets to play some triangles, with the central midfield and the strikers. And he's used his pace and his shiftiness to really wreak havoc on a lot of outside backs and any defenders or midfielders that kind of get drifted out a little bit to the wide right, which is where he usually is.
Wait, so help me understand. So he's playing like so they're doing a 4-3-3?
So it's a 4-4-2 according. It's a 4-4-2 according to a lot of things. But the way I understand it is a 4-2-2-2.
Yes.
So it's a 4-2-2-2.
Isn't that usually attacking? A diamond? No.
It's so when you're attacking, it's the 4 and then 2-2-2.
Yeah.
And when you're defensive, those two up kind of come back, so it becomes a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
So it kind of merges and melds depending on the system. Depending on the game and the situation. So Brendan essentially is that outside when they're defending, but he'll press up, and you see him a lot of time. He'll still be kind of on the right hand side, but he'll be so you have the two strikers up top are always I believe it's Berisha and Daka.
Yeah,
are the two guys up top, and then whoever is on the outside midfield as well with Brendan. Kind of both, so they'll go in middle, and then they'll both Brendan stays on the right hand side.
Works with a lot of space, though.
They'll go in the middle, so it's crazy. It's a flat 4-4-2, and then sometimes it's basically like what you would call a a cannon, where you have a 4 and it's like 2 all the way up. Right. So it's a weird setup, but. It's not too dissimilar to how the Union played, except the Union was a diamond that could go flat depending on how. Right. So it's why Brendan was able to so seamlessly integrate into the Salzburg roster.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a great game the last game that he started. And the team's a kind of a mid-table team. Again, Salzburg has had so many good games; they're bound to have a kind of tough game, but you know what? You're still in first place.
Right.
They have a cup game.
I don't think we realize he's developing at a rapid pace, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he's gonna be there. No more than two years.
Yeah.
He will be gone. I think probably just after the next World Cup. Like, there's no reason to think that by the January window of 2023, he can't, or even sooner. Maybe, who knows? Like. That's the thing. The way he's progressing, it might even be sooner.
That's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
So I'm not, at this point, it's not crazy to think. Now, yeah, we talk about how good, Brendan's playing. I would love to talk about how I feel bad for Mark.
Yeah.
Not because of how he's playing, but because Genk seemed to be like a dumpster fire right now.
Yeah.
And a dumpster fire for a team who's in third place. And this was less than a month ago. They were like 3 points back of Bruges
Yeah.
in first, and they were playing pretty well. And then, Carlos Cuesta, who I keep mentioning, has had a terrible 2021. Keeps getting a bunch of red cards. He's partnered with Mark in one game, directly calls for 2 penalties, gets yanked off right before the half, and they're trying to play catch up. Mark in certain games should be getting the starts and is not. So
Yeah.
it's one of those I feel bad for Mark, but again he's still getting minutes.
Yeah.
It's just in a tougher situation because Genk, I'm not sure 100% knows how they want to play. We said they were a 3-5-2, but they've been playing a lot of back four.
Yeah.
So that's been the biggest, the weirdest thing. And it's like I've seen more of them play with a back four than I have the back three. So I think the coach is really trying to experiment because he's at this point, it's a runaway train that you have no idea what's going on, and you're trying to do anything to stop the bleeding.
Yep.
So, it's tough. And again, I'm fully confident in Mark, being able to, progress on. I just think that it might be a little slower than Brendan, but again, center backs develop a bit slower, and we said Mark elevated himself in a year and a half more than we ever thought, and Brendan did as well. It's just it might take some time, or you never know. This might be the first half where Mark kind of is a little rough, and then next season he comes out of the gates flying, and he starts to play really well, and where we're talking to him right back in the U.S. men's national team conversation. So It's very early to talk about. But hey, we have 2 players former players in Europe. It's a lot more than we could say even 2 or 3 years ago. So, as good as Brendan is, and as kind of bad as Mark's team is playing, you know what? They both are in there, and I've talked to people who still talk to Mark, and he's having a blast over there. Has it been tough on him with the team's form? Yeah, but you know what? He's working hard at training every day, and he's fighting. He's in the 18. If he's not on the field, he's in the 18. You at least have to be doing something to stay in the 18. And you know what? Mark's not a quitter. He had to fight for his place when he got bumped in 2018. So he knows what it takes to get back and to come back strong. So I'll give Mark every benefit of the doubt to work just as hard to come back strong.
Yeah, and we'll get to see if he can do that. Genk had 6 more games this season, including a cup run, which they're in right now. I think their game is on Thursday in the cup. Like you were saying earlier, Justin, Brendan Aronson and Salzburg are in their cup tomorrow. It is the semifinal of that Austrian cup. So, hey, maybe we'll get to see Brendan lift some silverware this year. I mean, I know his side for Salzburg, after that, they have 3 more league games in the season. They're in first place. So, we'll see if they can hold off. And for Mackenzie again, yeah, you said it already. They're in third place. Genk is. They're going to have to cling to that, though. They have teams all around them in the standings. You need to be top 4, I believe, to qualify for some European games next year. So, yeah, that's what we have right now for DOOP across the pond with our 2 homegrowns. I know Andrew Wooten has been scoring goals again too, so we can talk about that a little bit. But other than that, I think we should probably try to expand this too. We got to look at some other Union players that are around the world. We'll maybe pull up a few of those next time.
That's actually a good point, man. We'll definitely look. I'm curious who's still out there playing. I know there's you're talking USL as well.
Yeah, everywhere. We can
cool. I'm down.
I have a friend, Brian Wagner, who checks up on all of the ex-Union players and kind of makes a little spreadsheet to follow them. So I'll ask if we can.
You mean the Union West and the Switchbacks?
Yeah, the Union West and the Switchbacks, or the MLS, Union West, which is Colorado still. So.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That is funny. Guys, hey, listen, we're at an hour here on another episode of Doop Across the Pond, Doop by the River. Guys, look, we are getting closer and closer to the season. It was great to actually have some union topics to talk about. And of course, like I said in the beginning, being able to talk about some real topics like that. Before we hop off, Justin, you had some COVID vaccine news that you wanted to relay to some of our listeners.
That I'm fully vaccinated?
Oh, I thought we had another site open up, or no? Did I hear that wrong?
Well, there's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is now
Okay.
I know that they're up to, I believe, 20 million doses by the end of March. So there's a third vaccine. But yeah, obviously there is a site at the Morristown Mall. There's a site at Blackwood. There's Inspira Health at Vineland and Mullica Hill. So yeah, there are a lot of increasing sites. I know, in PI, I know there's like the Rite Aids and a lot of pharmacies are starting to get it. So, I would say to people, keep looking. And if you qualify, go for it. Get whatever it takes, whatever you can get, you'll find it, and, eventually we'll all be vaccinated.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I love it. Tim, tell Courtney no breaks allowed. She's on the Aurelian Cullen watch.
Okay.
Hey, Aurelian could sign in the middle of the night. You never know. This is a big signing.
Well, she keeps saying that because him and his wife just recently had a baby, so there's no reason for him to sign and show up to practice yet because he's still with his newborn. So that's what she's saying. In a little bit, we'll wait till we get closer to the season. That's when he'll sign his contract.
Awesome stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. If you have listened to this point, do not forget, if you are watching this live, or if you're going to rewatch it again, make sure to like and subscribe on El Parcero Phillies YouTube channel. Of course, this will also be on PSN Radio. Make sure to subscribe there as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Justin Fryeburg, and that is Tim Lovinguth. I'm El Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys to do ball. Talk to you guys soon.